this was fun to watch. Krystal Ball was on Bill Maher's show, which it's rare that anybody gets on Bill Maher who's going to deliver anything other than the, BS. And she is, a professional at it. I'm not going to lie. I don't watch Bill Maher. Ever.
No, when's the last time something like this happened? Like, I can remember the Scahill confrontation.
It's pretty rare you get anybody outside of their little bubble.
I remember when Ben Affleck was the only person on the panel to hit back at Sam Harris and Bill Maher's rampant Islamophobia.
Right. And there are some things that Krystal, covers in the past, or that I don't necessarily agree with. But
like Sagar and Jimmy.
This is pretty good. And Jamie Kirchick is also one of the most odious of people that she could prepare it up.
But Krystal's very good at smacking down. Like, again, I don't the Sagar I can't stand, but she's very good at smacking down liberals or like center right people. And this was exactly what happened.
Amazing amount of ignorance she runs into here.
Yes.
It is the ignorance on this topic is stunning, and it's not just the ignorance; it is the self-satisfaction of these people bathing in their ignorance. Jamie Kirchick couldn't be more incorrect and more convinced that he was correct.
And Bill Maher couldn't be more ill-prepared for the show that he hosts on HBO.
Here it is.
The economy. There's way too much government spending, and that's why we have inflation. So that's a large part of that. It's just basic economics. And
that is not basic economics. We had this thing called a pandemic. We had a supply chain crisis, and by the way, there's a war in Ukraine.
It played a role. So
to act like the only reason we have problems now is because people got a little bit of money in their bank account is just not honest.
And a little bit of money, they got more than we spent in World War II. So don't act like
hold on. Hold on.
Can you pause that for a sec? What metric did he pull out of his ass? They got more than was spent in World War II? Not even accounting for, I'm sure they're going to run into inflation here. Not even accounting for that. It's just so smug. But,
there was a lot of money given to corporations.
This is what Krystal says here.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
And they're talking over her all the time, which is something that really gets under my skin. They did not want to let her get her point across, and she ends up not, taking it.
First off, let's be clear. $4 trillion in today's dollars spent in World War II. By any metric, we didn't spend $4 trillion.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to roll in the Trump tax cuts, and if you're just looking at the deficit, or I should say the debt, over the past 3 years prior to even COVID, then maybe you start to get around there. But the COVID relief bill, the last one under Biden, was $1.5 trillion, and we know how much of that is essentially a backstop money sent to Treasury to keep the financial markets afloat. Actually, both in the original one too. The original one back a year earlier in 2020.
He's conflating the amount of money that was spent in the overall package with the amount of money that was sent to human beings.
And we should also keep in mind, U.S. involvement, World War II, 4 years, maybe 3.5, let's say 3.5, at $4 trillion. I don't know if Bill Maher's aware of what we're looking at for a military budget just this year alone. The one that just came out of the Armed Services Committee was almost $50 million. That's almost $1 trillion. We're starting to spend that just annually. We're at World War II spending annually on our military, and we're not involved in a world war.
People got a little bit of money in their bank account is just not honest.
And a little bit of money, they got more than we spent in World War II. So don't act like
hold on.
Don't act like you said. Don't act like we had to react to the pandemic exactly the way we did. We had to spend $6 trillion.
Okay, but how about the
forever flu
trillions that the Federal Reserve shot at Wall Street? For some reason, people don't get upset about that.
How much?
And
What'd you say?
that fueled the trillions of dollars the Federal Reserve shot at Wall Street to backstop the stock market and the bond market. No one gets upset about that, even though that was a massive
I don't know what
factor in
you're talking
inflation.
about. What do you mean shot at Wall Street?
Well,
when are we talking about?
We're talking
Pause it for a
about
second. Pause it for a second. I love how Maher here, without any clue about what he's talking about, makes it about the verb. Right. What do you mean shot? What do you mean shot? Were you shot at Wall Street? What is that? What is that? Like because he's trying to pretend like I know what she's talking about, but she's calling it shot. And that's
the way she's talking about it is just wrong.
Well, what do you mean handed over? What do you mean sign? What do you mean transferred? What do you mean by that verb? All right, go.
He's like, this is a way for me to get clarification without actually asking for clarification.
Exactly. I got an issue with your verb, but talk about the rest of the stuff too.
Stop the stock market and the bond market. No one gets upset about that, even though that was a massive
I don't know what
factor in
you're talking
inflation.
about. What do you mean shot at Wall Street? When are we talking about?
We're talking about buying assets, buying stocks, buying bonds, buying treasury bills so that they expand the balance sheet. This is during the crisis, the coronavirus crisis. When the stock market crashed, that is what the Fed did. They went into action. They shot
but the
trillions
stock
of dollars.
market didn't crash during COVID.
Now it's crashing. It's crashing now.
It crashed, and the Fed came in and backstopped it. That's what happened.
Pause it.
It crashed.
Go pull this up. Pull this up. Both these jokers have no recollection that the stock market. I mean, I remember this because I was like, wait, whoa. I put some money in a 529. Milo's going to go to college in 2 years, 3 years. What am I going to do? I mean, I remember this. This is like this is April of 2020. Find some like historical stock market thing, or just Google stock market crash, April 2020. The idea that these guys have memory hold, and the reason why is because it lasted only like 3 weeks because the Fed came right in and immediately fixed it.
All these bonds, they basically guaranteed them. Yeah,
3-6.
Right.
Okay, yeah, there it is. That is, and why did it creep up by the time you get to like mid-April? Because the Fed stepped in with guaranteed money from the Treasury, and bingo bango. And all these these crappy loans are fine. Everybody's over leveraged.
It was unprecedented in terms of what the steps that the Fed took here.
Unprecedented. What are you like shot? What are you talking about?
I'm sorry, was that not the right adjective? It was never done before.
She doesn't know what she's talking about.
The stock market crashed and I didn't notice it. The finance genius.
Yeah.
Wall Street to backstop the stock market and the bond market. No one gets upset about that, even though that was a massive
I don't know what
factor in
you're talking
inflation.
about. What do you mean shot at Wall Street? When are we talking about?
We're talking about buying assets, buying stocks, buying bonds, buying treasury bills so that they expand the balance sheet. This is during the crisis, the coronavirus crisis. When the stock market crashed, that is what the Fed did. They went into action. They shot
but the
trillions
stock
of
market
dollars.
Didn't crash during COVID.
Now it's crashing. It's crashing now.
It crashed and the Fed
crashing now. I listened to the news on the way over here, and the stock market's crashing now. You idiot!
Not what we're talking about, Jamie.
God, how's that guy still around?
I mean, but the thing is, I don't want to make this just about the idiots that are on that set around her, because most people in this situation are going to get too intimidated, and they're going to wait. Am I right? Am I the one who is completely oblivious, or are these two who are so smug and self-satisfied completely oblivious? That's why, you have to give credit to Krystal here for not backing down, despite the fact that the host of the show, who ostensibly is speaking as if, and the douchebag sitting next to her who's going like, it's economics 101. Yeah.
I loved the way Jamie Kirchick jumps in here like, oh, let me speak for this woman who's getting all this stuff wrong. Yeah, it's actually crashing right now.
It's crashing right now.
Is that what's confusing you?
Are you aware that the market's crashing? Maybe you heard the word crashing and just thought, okay. Good.
Maybe you got a little confused. Are you on your period?
Exactly.
Wall Street to backstop the stock market and the bond market. No one gets upset about that, even though that was a massive
I don't know what
factor in
you're talking
inflation.
about. What do you mean shot at Wall Street? When are we talking about?
We're talking about buying assets, buying stocks, buying bonds, buying treasury bills so that they expand the balance sheet. This is during the crisis, the coronavirus crisis. When the stock market crashed, that is what the Fed did. They went into action. They shot
but the
trillions
stock market
of dollars.
Didn't crash during COVID.
Now it's crashing. It's crashing now.
It crashed, and the Fed came in and backstopped it. That's what happened.
It crashed, and we never heard about it?
No, it crashed. Go back and look at it. It fell off a cliff.
When?
The Treasury bond market stopped functioning, and the Fed took extraordinary action it's never taken in history.
I don't
Somehow
remember
no one
that.
gets
What do you mean,
upset.
the first week of the
Somehow nobody gets upset about the rich people who got tons of money and tons of support, way more than working class people did.
Sure
but
they
oh
do.
my God, people were able to feed their kids and they had a little bit of money in their bank accounts. It was the worst thing in the world.
No.
That is one small part of the inflation story, and is, by the way, not the only thing that we can deal with to get out of this mess.
And we can go on and on about the price gouging. First off, you start with just the simple premise of like, if it was the U.S. government spending which created this inflation, then we would not see it all around the world. That's the first place you start. Now, is there a differential between other places in the world where we saw, where we see inflation and the U.S.? Yes, inflation is a little bit higher here than it is in those other places. We should also say that when we compute spending during COVID, these countries started off at a higher baseline. So they didn't have to worry about all the people who didn't have health insurance because they had health insurance and didn't have to spend extra on that. We had to spend extra, and because Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats and the Republicans, for that matter, didn't want to expand Medicare, we had to use the most expensive possible way of delivering health insurance to people, which is we picked up the tab on COBRA, the most expensive way that you can provide health insurance to people. So yes, we did spend more, but you need to look around the country and look at the price gouging. Profits for refineries are 3 or 4 times like what they normally are. Gas prices, we've gone through this. We've had a time where oil is at a higher price than it is now, but gas is 25% more expensive than it's ever been in this country. That is a function of refineries not ramping up their production because they had shut down in COVID. Because as Bill Maher called it, the forever flu, there was a lot of Americans who were afraid of this forever flu and didn't go around and traveling. Like this like glib thing now where Bill Maher's, I feel like people overreacted to the pandemic. Yeah. What a piece of garbage, honestly.
Yeah.
And there were a couple other moments that people, I would encourage you to find the clips. I wouldn't go watch the show.
Yeah.
But
don't give them the numbers. But
ratings.
I mean, I think pretty much every leftist show is going to be covering this clip from Krystal, because that was a rare win to have Bill Maher actually have someone like her on his show, and for her to not back down when they were trying to mansplain that, like, and turned it up to 200 degrees.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You didn't know that. Was there a stock market crash? I missed it.
Marxist-Leninist Sederist says, and didn't COVID kill more Americans than World War II?
Oh,
Yeah, it did.
It's an interesting, time period that he brings up.
We should add that the likelihood of Krystal Ball being invited back onto Bill Maher's show, I would say is low. Although it could be that too many people are going to pay attention and they might have to invite her back.
At least one more time.
I will tell you, they will be far more careful in the things that they select to talk about, because they don't like, Bill Maher does not like to be embarrassed in the way that he was embarrassed.
I don't know if I've ever seen him embarrassed like that. Like
he was so embarrassed and so off balance and attempted. But wait, what? How did this happen? I didn't know about it. Yeah, no one let you know about the massive crash on Wall Street. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, pretty much has everything you need to know about, like, how the pandemic has actually affected Bill Maher versus how proportional that is to his indignance about it.
Yes, and I would add, it also shows how submerged all of the benefits wealthy people get in the context of COVID, but in general. Because we know that 80% of the stocks are owned by 20% of the people, more or less. Maybe even actually it's 80% are owned by like 10%. And the resources that were dedicated by this country to make sure that was just a blip, that it was a week and a half of anxiety for those people with massive amounts of stocks. And then it just went away. It shows how submerged that work is done. His tax cuts on his multi-million-dollar house, on the interest he pays on that. All of these benefits that government gives these people is so submerged enough so that they never have to acknowledge it. I told the story of going to Worcester, the Polar Park. It was really nice. And I have some misgivings, a lot of misgivings about tax dollars going to building parks. Like with the caveat that maybe the dynamics are different in a smaller city and for a park that isn't like, a huge stadium.
Yeah.
Seats 10,000. But I sit there talking with a guy who's like, I'm allergic to tax. After talking about how beautiful it is, how great it is, how it's like, revitalizing the city, causing a lot of private development, making a lot of people a lot of money. I'm allergic to taxes. And I was like, dude, you're standing on them right now. Like all this that you've just been praising, every bit of it is here because of tax dollars. Not just your tax dollars, everybody's tax dollars. Anyways.
What was Bill Maher doing in April 2020? Here's the headline. Bill Maher blasts media's COVID-19 panic porn, warning that doom and gloom coverage may get Donald Trump reelected. So that's what he's doing when he's missing the crash.
What a ding-dong. Talk about also being 180 degrees wrong. I think, if it wasn't for COVID, God knows whether Donald Trump would have been president.
It literally was like the freaking, confluence of circumstances. It was the Doctor Strange saying there's one universe in which everyone survives, and that's how Biden won.
How much do I need to deny that this thing killing all of these people is not there to not get elected? Huh? How much do I need to?
It'd be fun to see a comparison of the investments of people like Bill Maher and Kirchick and anybody else on that, and where they were before the government stepped in and how they were after.
Oh, God. Yeah.